Oh, okay. Bye, Carly.
Yeah.
I'll get a sitter next time.
Yeah.
Bye, Carly.
She thought it was from 2:30 to
Yeah.
5. So, well, I forgot where was the first question. that we
Okay,
had.
so
Okay.
let's just start like in general.
Mhm.
Who read the book? Okay. All right. Okay.
We got the book.
We got the book.
got
Okay,
the book.
that's good. We can all, just
Half
talk
the battle.
whoever
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah.
whoever
So
read
let's
it.
go around and just talk about like some of the highlights, like what you really enjoyed about the book, what you've heard about the book, just like general.
So last thought, like life up, last and first. Oh, all right. What I heard about the book was as far as an entrepreneur, like all the stuff that he went through. It's like you gotta read this book
Yeah.
because you will never know it. Like you would think one thing like Steve Jobs' book, but
Yeah.
you gotta read this book and see. And that's what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it. I'm
Okay.
not inquisitive.
Totally land. That's like, every entrepreneur, like the journey of an entrepreneur is really in this book. Like how he fought the good fight to become Nike, and Francesca.
I think so many things stood
Yeah.
out to me. Having good people next to you.
I agree.
Um,
Team.
I mean, I'm not calling myself good, but I
Uh-huh.
fully live the vision
Mhm.
of the owner
Yeah.
of Smile Me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
it. He tells me to do something, and I figure out how to make it happen without question, even if I don't 100% agree. But also just how tight cash was for them.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's-
how successful they were. It's like every day is different. Like you're never safe.
Right.
You always have to be forward thinking.
Yeah.
have
Banks
stuff
can
on the
kick you
side.
out.
And then the I don't want to say tax, but like the different lawsuits that came up
Mhm.
with, dealing with like the board of dentistry or insurance companies. Things come up. We have so many doctors, we see thousands of patients, things will come up, and it's never fair to the owner.
It's never.
Never fair, but it's something that he and I have to like squash
Yeah.
immediately and take responsibility. It's just,
Yeah.
it hit home for everything. And then there was this one part towards the end of the book where Phil was describing business and how, whatever you do, you change.
Yeah.
the
You
life of
pivot to
someone
whatever
better.
life throws at you.
That
Mhm.
and just about how you're working to be better for the world, not just,
Yeah.
I mean, through shoes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still,
Well, he did do a lot of change
Yeah.
in
but
different cultures.
And then our focus is always the patient experience, taking urgency with any feedback patients give, good or bad. And I
Yeah.
could keep going, but.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, we can keep going too. I also feel piggyback on that because I'm always like, when am I gonna have money? Like I'm like, I open this and then this and then this and then it's just like money goes into the business, but when am I gonna have money? And this guy never has money during the whole book. He's like the whole time just like, I need more money. I need more money. He goes. My favorite part was when his one of his employees, Woodell, the one that didn't have any legs. So his mother had $8,000 in their bank account. 5,003, and in her bank account, and she's like, here, and he's like, this guy from Stanford just like walking into these people's like all their life savings. He's like, I don't want to take this check, but I need these $8,000. They had 5 at the first, right? And then she's like, no, I'm going to give you the 3 more. And he knew that it was all they had. And she was like, if I don't believe in my son's job, who am I going to believe in? And he's like,
he had no legs, right?
He had no legs. And this Phil, so his name was Woodell, the guy that had no legs. He got injured in running because they're all runners. All these guys that started, most of them were runners. So the thing is that, when he went and scouted locations for, his operations, he was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to carry Woodell through the stairs because there's no like accessibility in those times. That was did the book start in 1962? Something like that, 1972? Uh-huh. Yeah, so it was just like crazy how much he supported and they supported each other. And then that little check at the end, one day he went to Woodell's mom's house and was like, here, your $8,000 now worth $1.6 million. obviously a bunch of years later. But the thing with me is that I just see him every day, and you think that, oh, in 2 years I'm going to be fine. No, it's like it took this guy 20 or I don't know 18 years to be what he is now, and now he's not even like part of the board or anything. He's just like, give me the money and that's it, and everything that he, you know, suffered. So someone else want to have an opinion?
I have a thought not related to the
But you
book
can say whatever you
that
want.
popped into my head. The guy who created the whole storyline on Baywatch, who has become a squillionaire because at one point it became the world's #1 most watched TV show ever. It was the first time that had been achieved. It took him 10 or 15 years to peddle the story to Hollywood and to other producers, and everyone said, look, this is so boring. You can't make an interesting dramatic series week after week after week about lifeguards on the beach. There's maybe 2 or things that'll happen. There's no sharks in the bay. And then he was like, no, but you have all these beautiful Southern California women in their bikinis and the boobs and the sand and the sun. But it took him 10 to 15 years, and I remember everyone said he wasn't in the film industry, he was a lifeguard. And he goes, no, I've chronicled all the things that we've done as the Los Angeles lifeguard division. But I just remember thinking like, oh my God, it took him 15 years that everyone said he was stupid, this was a dumb idea, it's not enough.
Yeah.
You know, and you're not a writer, you're not in the industry, what do you know? And then it just being boom. So somehow he just had this disbelief in his story that there was something in it that would be appealing to everybody. And that for some reason that just popped into my head. So I think it's the grind
Yeah.
that I just like recall and remind. And I appreciate you so much, you being so honest and saying like, yeah, when's the money? Because we're all working, we're all out there, we're checking off all the right boxes, we're doing everything that's correct. And so then it's just, we're either blindly dumb and naive, or it's like we just also have this innate just knowledge and skill that no one else can like really encapsulate into words, that why we know that what we're doing and the way we're doing it is just the right way.
So he also says at the end of the book, like there's also it's very important to know when you have to stop.
Pivot.
Yeah, when you have to, like,
Right.
if you're doing an entrepreneurship and it's not working, you also have to be knowledgeable and know when to stop it. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it really
that's-
highlights like parents that don't believe, right? So dad
Oh.
wanted him
Yeah.
to be an accountant, and
Oh, yeah.
you know, like how could you leave PricewaterhouseCoopers, right? You're in like working at this big investment firm.
He was selling mutual funds.
Yeah,
So
yes.
yeah.
So like how could you leave your like stable job? And I think culturally we probably all have experienced, bless you, a family member who wants you to go one way and you're doing something completely different. And just like his commitment to his craft and still loving his dad from afar,
Mhm.
but still staying focused and not saying, hey, I'm gonna do what like my dad wants me to do. Like, you know, through the book, there was a few times where he did things, you know, that he didn't love
Mhm.
from a, you know,
Yeah.
character standpoint.
Like the briefcase, stealing from the briefcase.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
God,
So
yeah.
he was
I was like,
what are you
stealing
doing?
Yeah, so, you know, his distributor was having some meetings with a few other people in the United States. He, you know, came from Japan to meet with some people, and he stole this envelope that had like the meeting
All the
times and who,
information.
yeah. So he wasn't proud about it, and through the book, there was like a few moments, like being the teacher of the
Mhm.
student, and he's like in a relationship with the student, and he's like, we have to
Mhm.
get married because you can't go back to school,
Mhm.
and us being in a relationship. So I love the integrity behind like his thinking, because when you lead with integrity and you try to do the right thing, just good things happen for you when you're not crappy.
Yeah.
So my question, to go to what you said, just so this is like, I guess, an open question. As an entrepreneur, when would you know to pivot? Like, is it 1 year, 90 days, 6 months? Like, when would you know? Because it's like, if it's the blind leading the blind, it's get kind of tricky because you believing in something
Yeah.
that it might not trigger. But you know you're doing everything. Let's just use like sales. Okay,
Yeah.
I know I gotta get people.
Yeah.
I gotta make calls. It's like I gotta connect people, calls. People, calls. Now how I build up my sales funnel. Now if I do it, let's say I got 6 months worth of savings. I'm gonna give myself 6 months. Well, I'm gonna give myself 90 days to see if this works. But stuff moving so fast, you did something last week that don't work next week.
Yeah.
So you competing with yourself
I
because you
can tell
believe
you.
in this, but you can't figure it out because you're looking this way instead of like a horse. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and there's no plan B. Like I burned this ship. Now you in a different mindset compared to I got different options. If this don't work, I'm gonna go get a job. And I'm
So
gonna say
that's
this.
what he did. He did get like first encyclopedias, nothing. Like he was doing
But he was
good.
building.
Yeah.
He was
I'm
making
gonna
money.
read the book, so like next month.
He got the
Yeah.
he even got his CPA degree
Yeah.
and became a CPA and started working for a CPA. It's
Teaching
just-
school, teaching
and
high
then
school.
after that was like teaching college, or
College,
yeah.
yeah.
And so all of this time, like most of this time, this guy had a full-time job, and then
Okay.
on the side he was building his empire. So
Okay.
it's super interesting how he needs to, eat.
So
His
that's
passion,
the thing.
His passion
Mhm.
for his dream kept him going. I don't
Okay.
think
Yeah,
that
and he
there's
was a runner,
right-
right? Like
Yeah.
he wanted to be in that. And sometimes if if you're a spiritual person, right, like whatever assignment you're here to do, you're fueled by something totally different. Right? It's
Yeah.
just something else that keeps you in that chase, right? Because that's you and your creator, whoever you believe in.
Mhm.
So you have that, but you also have to do things in a way where you're not burning down the house while doing it too,
Mhm.
right? Because like God gave us discernment, and I don't want to go down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole, but we have to know when like we have to put food on the table for our family and still go out and chase a dream. And he wasn't like, well, I'm gonna leave. He left when he can take out, I think it was $20,000 a year, $18,000 a year to be, he bought a $34,000 house. Like when he was able to leave, then he left. But it wasn't until that moment. And sometimes you hear entrepreneurs like, well, I'm just gonna go with it, right?
Mhm.
But then they're starving, and we're not supposed to be starving.
No, they just lack discipline.
Yeah.
The one thing is like discipline and sacrifice. So
Yeah.
if he took your job for let's say 20,000, I know I'm gonna balance my life
Right.
off of this.
Yeah.
So on the side, this is what I'm gonna do till I match.
Yes.
So I'm getting 20,000 in a month, and this 20,000 in a year. Like this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Because now I could bet on myself.
100%.
But the flip, like okay, I'm definitely like I wouldn't think you would go jump off the cliff with nothing and people depending on you.
Right.
Hope you
But
wouldn't
we
do that.
see it day to day, and I think this book really highlights like you can still be chasing your dream, but being responsible
Mhm.
and like
And paying your bills.
paying your
Mhm.
bills and making sure you take care of
Mhm.
your family. And sometimes you can't live in like the prettiest place, or you have an
Mhm.
office where the windows are broken and it gets really
And that,
cold
yeah,
and you're
that,
freezing.
talk about that story that you loved it.
Yeah, it
that
was
part.
probably my favorite part. They were talking about just like how crappy the office was, but it was so full of purpose that no one was really stressing out that the fact that the windows were broken, or you had to sit at a certain angle during the winter time because you're freezing your ass off. And then when they came from Japan to really do that walkthrough, and the Japanese were like, what the hell is this? And he was
So
like,
who didn't read the book? He started selling shoes because he kind of like faked it in Japan, telling his the factory in Japan that he had a company called Blue Ribbon. He brought it out of his because he won a blue ribbon running. So he's like, first thing that came Blue Ribbon. So yeah, we have a company and we're going to distribute all the United States. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. So they were super happy to give him the business.
Shoes, yeah.
But they thought he had a huge operation, and then 5 years later, I mean, how many years later,
Yeah.
they went and visited him, and he had a crappy office. It was just like,
Yeah.
He
But
got,
it's
he got
a-
the
You
ball
make it, you
going.
make it.
That's it. But
Yeah.
you have a crappy office, but you're in there with the players, with the people that care, right? With your guy who lost his legs but is doing more deals than anybody else. Like the team, like you said, the team really matters, and when everybody's working towards like that goal, it doesn't matter where you are, you're unstoppable, and that's what really
so going back, yeah, say.
Well, I think, Francesca, I think it's dangerous actually to tell people to follow your passion. Because there are a lot of people that follow their passion and they're ass broke. And we
Yeah.
all know people who have followed their dreams on a passion to do something and they are just broke. So somehow they can't turn the dial.
Yeah.
And you're not lacking passion, so I don't think that's an issue for you. But this is when poker strategies helps, right?
Yeah.
So this is about risk mitigation, risk management, right? So, and I do this every time I look at a hand, right? So, and I understand, so I can relate to exactly what you're talking about. It's when do because there are people that put all their eggs in one basket, which is so risky, right? And if anyone has studied Shark Tank, like I studied Shark Tank for 2 or 3 years in its heyday 10 years ago, and Kevin Leary, is that his name?
Yeah.
Mr. Wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so his big thing, it was provocative for me to learn. And he was yelling at these people who had this invention or something, and then they would mortgage the house for the second time, empty out the children's college savings funds because he believed in his product that he wanted. And so Kevin said, like, no, you don't have a business, you don't have an idea, you put your whole entire family at risk, you're done.
But you
And-
have Kevin, right, and he's
Right.
my favorite guy in the entire
Yeah.
show, but you have someone like Mark who appreciates you put it all on the table. You know,
Okay.
Mark's worth 10 times everybody on that show.
Right.
You put it all on the table and you fight the good fight and you starve and you just like, you figure it out, like that's.
But if you have sales, and so I'm guessing when there's people who do all this and they still don't have sales.
There's plenty of people that have created a model and a mold of something that's really good. They just don't have enough money to go and get it to the marketplace,
Okay.
right? So.
They might not have met the right people yet.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Okay.
they need shelf, in a grocery store, like whatever that may look like.
Yeah.
So yes, I understand where you're coming. He's a venture guy, right? So for him, everything is like risk, and he, like he says, he sends his money out to the world, and he wants his money to come back 10x. That's his focus. Mark is more into like the vision and helping you grow, and he's already, he's again worth more than everybody there times so much. Now he's like, I want to pour into these entrepreneurs. I see it. I get it. So I think you just have so many different opinions sitting in the tank, but it's all so good. It's all.
So going back to Francesca's comment about the team, like you really are very good. You've been with Dr. Gayaz for 19 years. So one of his key employees, and I think I told you Brian having dinner once that I loved, was like Johnson guy. He was just like another guy that he met. He's Stanford too? Or
I don't remember.
I don't remember, but they knew each other from somewhere,
from
from
track.
running. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
he sent them shoes and he just sold them and sold them. So he kind of was like a very important
Right.
person to grow this company. And he was like wanting him to be his boss, and he was like writing these letters to him, and he
Changing
didn't, he
design.
ignored
Yeah,
him. He was like, what does this guy want? Just get your commission and shut up.
Yeah.
So, but he yearned for that, leadership, and he
Seat at
didn't
the
know
table.
how to give it to him yet.
And
You know.
maybe he saw the vision too.
Yeah.
Or it could be bigger than what maybe Phil knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Then he
I
gave
mean,
him a
there have
raise.
been- There have been times when, I pushed Dr. Callis,
Yeah. Let's do,
and, I can at this point,
Yeah.
he'll come around to some things
Uh-huh.
eventually, but we have that really good relationship where I can.
Yeah.
But it's taken time.
And he's
Right.
just such an amazing person with a great
Yeah.
vision and open-minded individual. I love him.
So
he's great.
if I have a really good idea, he lets me run with it. He
Yeah.
like Phil and Johnson just
Yeah.
kind of, okay, do
Yeah.
it,
Go.
do whatever. I
Yeah.
don't need the details, just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, another key person was, his coach, who
Yeah.
invested his first $1,000 on him. He was like, okay, let's do this, let's start this business. And they went, and then he brought him to the lawyer's house, and he was like a little scared because he didn't know what they were going to do. So they decided, okay, let's do 50-50, $1,000. So they ordered a shipment of shoes for $1,000. But the coach was so smart because he knew what the feet of runners needed. So he started like doing, and the waffle maker, that was so funny. So it's just so that he even like his creation went on into the world. Like people, came and did like the waffle looking
and-
shoe.
yeah.
And then just so many things, all the people, you can't do everything alone. I tell, when I meet business owners that, are advertising in my magazine, I tell them, like, you eventually have to pay someone to do something. Some people don't understand that that's very important to have help. You need to, even if it's very hard,
To
like you
scale.
say, you have to
You
scale.
pay people and they still don't do
Yeah,
it.
they
right.
still
This is
don't-
their
they
job.
wanna do it,
I'm
yeah.
an expert. I'm gonna pay
Yeah.
you what you say, and you still don't do it right.
Yeah.
I was surprised that he wasn't the one that came up with the name.
I know, I
Right?
know.
That was, I was
Yeah.
doing the whole
Was
time
it?
I was
Was
like,
it?
what's
Which
this?
one was
somebody,
it?
It was somebody that was in the meeting because they were going to meet with a new distributor and they
Uh-huh.
needed a logo because they were getting ready to put the shoes out, and they didn't like D6 or D3. There was like this
Uh-huh.
really long name,
Yeah.
and the advice was,
Yeah,
look,
Dimension.
yes, Dimension 6, something
Uh-huh,
like that.
uh-huh.
And he said, look, all the brands that are really crushing it right now have one syllable and they have a letter that sticks out.
A K
like,
or an
like
X.
Kodak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. And so he was like, it has to be something, and the guy next to him was like, Nike, she's the goddess of victory.
And then a girl from the university drew the logo and
Swoosh, and they called it a swoosh. They were like, what is this?
Yeah, was it how much? Yeah, $35 exactly.
For a freaking logo.
And he was like, "Oh, I don't like it, but we have to run with it." But that was
Oh, he
after.
didn't even like it.
No, he didn't
No.
like
He
it.
didn't like the name or the logo.
Yeah.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
So with that, right? I'm
Uh-huh.
just thinking out loud.
That's
So
what
when he
we're here
did the
for.
swoosh
Uh-huh.
and he didn't like it, so was it a thought process like just do it?
And he would just do
Yeah,
it.
because he trusted, like this person had some experience with marketing and really understanding human behavior. So
Do you guys remember who was the one that?
I don't remember the name.
With the came up with the name.
Uh-huh.
It was either Johnson or
Or
Waddell.
Goodell. Okay. Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
them.
And they
Uh-huh.
understood
Yeah.
like what the market was needing in those moments, and he basically said go with. He was like, I don't like it, but I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
And again,
It was
it's
on a
the
time crunch.
crunch. Yep,
Yeah.
because they needed to get the shoes in production.
Yeah, because so he stopped distributing shoes from Japan, and he found a new factory and started his own brand. So the first shoes were Tigers, which was a brand from Japan. So that's how he started selling Tigers. And then he's like, we're gonna do our own shoe, which was kind of horrible because they started selling it at their a trade show. And they were so bad. Well, they say they were so bad. I didn't see them. I think I wasn't even born. But
in
they
Chicago.
Mhm.
That's right. in
Yeah,
Chicago.
and then people came like, from I don't know what stores to see, oh yeah, we like them, we like these Nike things that are going on. But it took years for it to.
So was it an accident? Would they just do it? Cause it's like that's the only thing you remember. Like
Did
this.
they touch up? I
I just-
I don't
finished
remember
it.
the just do
Did
it
we talk about
part
it?
like in the book.
I think
So
it's
I'm
Just
saying,
explaining
like,
it.
came
Yeah.
later. That was in the 1990s.
It could
Yeah.
have been.
That's a
Right.
1990s tagline.
They didn't
Yeah.
put like a big significant.
So the book went up to 1980 or 1980,
Yeah.
right? That's
So
that's where we
Jordan
stopped.
not in the book then.
No. So
Jordan
that's
was Air,
another
right?
story.
So if you watch the
Before.
movie Air, then that's
Yeah.
where you got like
Yeah.
the Jordan story and how he
Okay.
really.
So
lived
that
it
went
and
on
he-
after.
Yeah.
that.
Was the movie
83,
good?
84.
It-
Oh, Air is
Oh,
Yeah.
the best.
I watched
Literally
this
top
video.
5 movie.
yeah.
You know, if you like if you like
Yeah.
Boiler Room and
Yes.
Wolf of Wall Street,
Yeah.
you're
Yes.
there.
Boiler
Yeah,
Room.
yeah. It's
Yes.
just like it
What-
sales people.
What was that other movies after?
Glengarry Ross.
No, the one where they had like little people like acting out scenes while they were telling the story.
Boiler Room.
No, I mean, but that's an older one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Boiler Room was old.
No, like a more recent one.
Oh.
It was
I
actually-
remember it was like along those lines, Wolf of Wall
Mhm.
Street.
Yeah, yeah.
So good. So I remember I wanted to watch Air when it was out, but then when I started this, I was like,
great
I'm gonna
big
watch
short.
it.
It's kind of like
Big
like-
Short.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Big Short.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
Air
that
would
was a good
be
one.
not the story of Phil Knight. Air is the story of Michael Jordan.
Yeah, of like
Oh, okay.
the brand. Like
Yeah,
the-
but it does explain how they believed in one kid and said we're gonna invest and we're gonna pay fees.
And
So
Jordan's mom
hmm
saying, if you want my son, he has to get a part. He has to get a piece. Like you're not gonna pay me $100K on a sneaker deal. It was that mama that said, if you want him, we want to be
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah.
And
you
they-
get like what 10 cents, something or a
Yeah,
percent,
every-
1%
yeah,
for
percentage
everything that says
shoe.
Jordan
Yeah, it was,
on
it was
it.
literally that mom.
Yeah.
And the Chicago Bulls really agreeing to getting a fine every time Jordan, because when Jordan went out and wore the
You
sneakers,
had to wear white.
you had to wear white sneakers. You couldn't wear red, black, patent leather.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there was none of that. So the Chicago Bulls said, "All right, we're gonna pay the fines every single game. Like we're gonna do it." And they it's just like the community and the partnership
But
and the
imagine
people.
having that community and support, which is what people look for. And I think going back to the topic that you said of should you follow your dreams and aspirations, and that being up in the air, I think that, in my opinion, as coming somebody who didn't have all the access to everything that I needed, I think that you should chase your dreams, and I think that you should put everything that you have in your life so that when you go back to your kids and you leave the trajectory, you say, I at least tried, and if I got there, then I got here, and this is what I have.
And
But
you
give
have
that
to.
dream to other people to, it's doable, it's possible, do not allow your circumstances to stop you from dreaming.
Correct.
Yeah.
He does mention at the end of the book luck, and he says people really do get lucky, but you can call luck faith, you can call luck God, you can call luck Buddha, you can whatever your luck is,
Yeah.
there you have to have a faith in something that's bigger than you, and then that's you're gonna bring your discernment to see if you keep going or stop or do. Our parents teach us to find a job, go to college,
Right.
and earn a salary, and and then they hate when you want to do something different, right? Then
Well, it
you wanna,
terrifies them,
yeah,
right? And their risk tolerance is very different. It's lower than yours. Just like
Mhm.
my parents' risk tolerance for what
Yeah.
I'm doing is much lower. Get a job.
Yeah.
Just get a job or just toe the line because
Like-
that's what worked for them.
get your retirement plan.
Get your
like,
retirement
all
plan.
that.
Exactly.
Spend
Exactly.
more.
So yeah.
I think that the fact that he traveled the world
Mhm.
like also helped him
Have
not
vision.
I mean especially
Yeah,
with his
that's
dad's influence who was like do this, be the accountant and just get something stable and secure. It just let him believe more in his dream that kind of seemed so
Mhm.
Out
bigger
there.
than anything
Yeah.
else.
Well, I think the girl early on, not the wife, but like the girl that he met while he was traveling, and she was such a free spirit, and he was like, when am I gonna see you again? Can I get your number? And she was like, no, I'll find you in the
Uh-huh.
world. Like she was just one of those like.
So I kind of did a little research on her, and she's from Maryland. So I'm not completely sure that it's her, but she is her. He said that she was a chocolate,
Yeah,
a
from the
candy
chocolate
bar.
candy bar.
So I think it's one of the Mars bars, people. Yeah. So because they don't say her name because I think like her real name.
Yeah,
Because
because
she,
of the-
but that's what it says in the forums and the chats and the Reddit stuff about the book.
Yeah.
That it's her. So maybe it would have been different. Yeah.
It's
So
not
you know-
Jackie Mars, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
No, she might have been like
She's in
so.
her 60s.
Phil Knight's
She's young.
old. He's let's
Oh.
see, how old is he right now?
He's old.
He's old.
Yeah.
80s?
He's just
He was
old.
hustling in the 60s.
Yeah.
He was like,
Okay.
so he.
Oh yeah. That's long.
Yeah. So, he's
So,
up there. He's,
he knows-
maybe
he knows
80.
his thing.
He probably knows 80.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it's just one of those things, like you meet people who are so well cultured, and then you go and experience other cultures in other cities, and like Tyson seems smaller and smaller. The more places you visit, the more poverty you see, the more diverse, it's so different. So I think
Yeah.
that's like kind of kept him in pursuit of something else because he wasn't stuck in this like Oregon, this
Mhm.
town in Oregon with this like CPAs and teaching school, like he was,
Yeah.
and I think anytime we all step outside of
Our
our
comfort.
zone, like we expand our mind. Like we are
Mhm.
different than when we came back every single time, no matter what we do. So, I strongly believe that, and I think that's where his like spunk to go and keep going was like I'm sitting in the room with the players.
Yeah.
This like thought-provoking question I'm about to ask. So
Yeah.
like, I was talking to one of my guys, and I was telling him 20 years ago, if you wasn't in the right circles, you didn't get the information. Now you fast forward, it's like, what can we do? So now they overflood you with a bunch of information, so you still got to go back to your basics to get the information. Like when it wasn't there, it's like, okay, I'm somewhere.
Yeah.
Now it's flooded. Like everybody give you all this information, and then you flood it, and you still don't do nothing. So it's like, a catch-22.
Yeah, big time. Because like I was having a conversation about this literally earlier today. You sell one house and now you're a realtor, right? Now now you can go out there and say, yeah, I'm a realtor, I'm a real estate broker, and people can, you can put lipstick on the pig all day long, right? But like your experience, just that's what really leads the way. It's you probably know how to do something small, but you also know how to do something huge.
See,
Right?
I'm still young. See all this gray hair? People-
Yeah, but we see it all the time. Like these influencers come out and they're like, oh, I can teach people how to buy a business, or
Right.
People ask me, hey, does this?
Right.
Have you heard of this girl blank blank? I'm not going to put it out there, and I'm like, of course I've heard of blank blank, and she's telling everybody you can buy a business with no money down and this
I
and that. I'm
said
like,
self-proclaim. You
none
go
of my
online,
sellers would go
self-proclaim.
for that.
Bishops, ordained,
all the things, right? But there's so many people online who are saying, hey, you can do this with no money, or you can, whatever. And I'm like, no, you can't. I'm in
And
the
it's so
weeds
hard
this
to
every day.
believe
You can't,
some
right?
things that like now we're being taught medicine by kids, and like because somebody pays them how to do your like they're not dermatologists, but the the influencer says, oh, what
Yeah.
to use in your face, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the so easy to reach the masses. that anybody could be an expert in anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
100%.
making money from it too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what's so
It's insane. It's insane.
So, does anybody have like a favorite quote of the book?
Well, you say mine not in the
Just
book,
that-
so I
that
can't.
part of the book.
Mine just do it.
Just
do
do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, I have one. I have one, but I forgot how it goes. It's about the crazy idea, like because whenever I wanted to start the magazine, Phil, let me find this quote. My parents were like, didn't you get that, Vivian?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I
what?
didn't tell anybody until it went to print because I didn't want to hear it from anybody.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But I
Right.
I
get
did
it.
different because I was like, you're opening a magazine? Yeah, I'm starting a magazine. And like they were like, what? So I told everyone because if I knew that they knew that I was not gonna fail. Like I'm doing this magazine, I'm doing it, period.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't tell it, like I always
Focus
tell
on
people,
something.
oh yeah, I wanna lose 20 pounds, but then I'm not really, but if I put it like how I did Dry January, right? I'm like, I put it on Instagram, I'm
crazy.
doing Dry January because I'm not gonna not do it. Like
Insane.
that, I need that
Yeah.
accountability.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, your parents, everybody's gonna call your ideas crazy, and sometimes you can like, let's see, let everyone else call your idea crazy. Just keep going. Don't stop. Don't even think about stopping until you get there. So, but that brings you like to so many questions. Like, what if I never got there? Like, in a moment in the book, I was like, poor guy. Like, I was like, I wanted to grasp for air for him because it was just like, it was so hard. But
Yeah.
now he's who he is. Did you find your quote?
So it's like a paragraph,
Okay.
but this to me
Okay.
just is like all encompassing of business. So it says when you make something, when you improve something, when you deliver something, when you add some new thing or service to the lives of strangers, making them happier or healthier or safer or better, and when you do it all crisply and efficiently, smartly, the way everything should be done, but so seldom is, you're participating more fully in the whole grand human drama. More than simply alive, you're helping others to live more fully, and if that's business, all right, call me a businessman.
Yeah.
Like, that is,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason.
Beautiful.
That's the whole
And I think
reason.
he started that because in the book he mentions a lot that business is war. Like you're sitting down negotiating with someone and it's like a war, like who's gonna win,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think in the end he's like, I don't think I'm a businessman, but if that's what it is because he felt that he had to fight for his life like every freaking time. Like I just hate it when the bank like just gave up on him, and so he had to seek investors, and it was just like it just teaches you that even in those times now you have so many options of banks and funding and so many
But there's so much underwriting risk. Like before he was like, hey, I'll pledge my savings account, or hey, I'll pledge my house, and it's really opinion based. Now it's if you don't meet these 10 things that are computer things that you need to meet, you can't get any money. There's so many options, but there's so many obstacles with those options, right?
Okay.
Versus I've had a relationship with a local banker for 30 years. They know that I'm good for it. They believe. Now the banks, they don't believe. It's not about you and your story. It's about like your risk. Your score, your credit risk, right? Your credit profile. So, he was in a good time to do this because now, who knows, he would have,
But I was telling Erica that I don't understand banks. Like, why am I going to be asking for money if I have money? Like, the banks want you to have, like, this whole bunch of cash
No, you
saved
got
up.
bad
And I'm
money.
like, why would I
For them to
be...
give you money.
Like, if I have it, why would I ask
You're
for
not
it? So
spending no money.
that's something that I will never understand about banks. I have a friend that owns a funding company. He says, Gloria, banks always win. We don't have a banker here. But we usually have a couple bankers with us in the group. One of them is Sabina. She was sick today. She was so sad to miss the book.
because she loved it.
She was like already talk hours about the book. She knows the whole story. And the banks suck.
Yeah.
So when they gave him they kicked him out, I was just like, oh my god, poor guy, what is he gonna do? But this book made me cry, made me laugh. I came back to have dinner with Brian and my daughter, and I was like, I telling them the stories, and they were like, okay, shut up.
Yeah, so I didn't read the book, but what does he do, like, when he finds his success? Do you find out, like, what he does? Like, do you think that his product is what he's working for, or do you think it's, like, his success that he's working for? And do you think that, like, makes a difference?
So I think I have two opinions on that. I think his team was so important in this role of him being successful, and then they advised him, to go public. But his product, his product, he then integrated the air, and it became perfect. And then then after the book comes Michael Jordan, who changed culture completely about the You have something to say?
No, I agree. Honestly, if you want, in my opinion, I think that the heartbeat of this was the people, and I know that he always did it for the people. I don't think he was ever chasing the money. It never really stood out that he was chasing riches. Like, he wanted to put food on the table and take care of his wife, who had never cashed the paychecks when she got paid, things like that. I think he just always was driven by the people. So.
His wife, I think, had a $25 spending for the supermarket on a weekly basis. And she was, just hustling with him, just waiting for that money.
8 months pregnant, just kind of doing the thing, filling orders, and just.
So I think of his team, Johnson, who was the sales guy, and then Woodell, who was the guy that didn't have legs. They all helped so much to that they were together up to 2 a.m. They went out drinking. Then they thought about the whole company while drinking, partied, and then the next day the same thing. And then it's just this little community that they built around a company, and they grew it. And then I think the last guy who was very important was the lawyer, right? It was 300 pounds. In the movie, he wasn't 300 pounds, though. He was very handsome. Yeah. Who was the guy who played Strasser in the Strasser?
It wasn't Ben Affleck.
No, Ben Affleck was with Phil Knight.
Rob Strasser, but who played him?
The guy from
no, it was
the guy from Ozark. What's his name?
Right? I forgot, but anyways. He was very important because he helped them, with the legal battles at the beginning when the Japan guy wanted to sue him, and he helped them win that war. And then with the IRS, who was also after him, and then he became the VP of marketing, and he was the guy that kind of decided to bring Michael Jordan in. So it was just so many and then also the autonomy that he gives his employees, which is something that old school people don't do. He lets them be. He left Johnson be himself, and sell, and then he could do he would feel like it's his own business. I imagine Dr. Gayas makes you feel you have full autonomy on decisions, and that makes you feel more
empowered.
Yeah. Correct. To run a business.
I feel so much ownership.
Yeah.
I mean, just like him, I don't want to take a vacation. We talk about the business all the time.
Yeah.
And texting on the weekends.
Yep.
I go through the sleepless nights too.
Yeah.
It's just part of it.
Yeah. That's right.
But I'm not micromanaged. And in turn, we don't micromanage the team.
Yeah.
So.
I agree that management is I was micromanaged in my 20 years in my company, my family's company, and I felt so belittled. Everything was bad, and I was afraid of doing things, and then I was okay, I'm just gonna get in trouble. I don't care, because it was still my company, but I just did stuff I'm gonna ask for forgiveness instead of asking for permission. But now that I have my own company, I feel and I let my employees do whatever I tell them do, and then he says that let them do, tell them what you want, let them do it their own way, and then you'll see if it works. So I think that's the best way.
Well, I think that was great.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
yes.
For in 19 years, in the business, and all you think about is the business. What is your There's not always going to be a final goal, but what is your ultimate goal for doing?
So right now we're trying to expand.
Mm-hmm.
The owner wants to get to 50 locations in the next 10 years.
Okay.
But beyond that, he'd be fine with the 6 that he has, as long as we're making a difference. Patients are happy. For me, every day I wake up and I think like, how can we be better? Like
Yes.
we're never satisfied. Things are going well, but I mean, for me, that's what drives me.
Okay.
Just I don't know.
And I
There's
think
no really
even
end goal.
Yes, no.
It's
Okay.
just
even these companies,
Helping
they're not
people.
they're not going to be satisfied ever. You know,
No.
you always want more, but you know, you get to a point when you become public and you have all this money, and but now you have a bunch of directors, a board that you have to be ruled by, and it's just it's never going to be easy, but.
we love people. Like patients are people, and then the team is people, and you have to know how to manage both, and that's with any business. If you're not good with people, your business isn't gonna be good.
Can I ask, Francesca, I imagine that other dentist services or just other medical services probably tried to poach you and bring you to their company, because I would imagine 10 years in, you then have a reputation for just being this solid performer. I'm so curious, like, what makes you stay? Because I know it's existential. Not to put you on the spot. It's because I always stay with you for 7 or 8 years, and then
They have, local offices have tried.
Yeah.
At the same time, people who I've worked with go to Dr. Callis asking for my position. So it's a challenge for me, right? I do have an MBA, but I have to keep myself very sharp in the dental industry. I have to stay connected with top people. I think we just have a trust, and it's something that we've built together at this point. Like, when I started, it was one office in Tyson's with 4 treatment rooms, and now, I mean, I've been with him through the whole growth. So I feel lucky in a sense, and I know he feels lucky with his success, but also he was at some event this week, and he said, I feel really lucky to be here with all these top CEOs in the dental industry. And I told him, yeah, but you worked to get there. Like, in my mind, looking at him, it's not luck, it's his hard work that got him there. So I feel that too.
Because it's really such a tremendous compliment to you and to him. I mean, 19 years, that's more than most marriages last today.
Yeah.
So there's something,
I grew up like, my dad, I was raised by my grandfather, he was Italian. So he had a Mediterranean mindset. Dr. Callis is Syrian. He has this Mediterranean energy. So for me, it's very familiar.
Okay.
And probably easier to work with than an American company.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Very
So,
open-minded.
Yeah.
Very smart man.
Yeah.
So does anyone else have a last remark, a last comment on the anything else? I think we went over the whole book practically.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I guess I was also struck at how organic, there was no business plan.
So,
You just kind of went with it. It was a real raw gut.
So I think that's what we want, right? Like, just to have like an open conversation every month and feel comfortable talking to each other and even helping each other with our businesses, and get to know each other a little bit more. Even if you, Vivian, have to come from Dumfries and you from Richmond every third Tuesday. But in that, like, what book do we want to read next? We have 3 options. So we have Grit by Angela Duckworth, who is The Power of Passion and Perseverance. So it's about the importance of achieving the success, right? According to her, grit is a unique combination of passion and long-term perseverance that drives outstanding achievement. So I don't know, I have not heard about it, I have not read it. You have another one, right? Another suggestion?
What was it?
Extreme Ownership.
Extreme Ownership. This one was by the Navy SEAL that helped get Osama bin Laden. And, he gave a really good speech. I'm sure you all have, seen it on YouTube. It's like, if you make your bed, how you start, if you want to win the day, make your bed. And he kind of goes down that rabbit hole. But to me, I think if we own everything and nothing is anybody's fault but ours, that's how you win. Like, I can be better in every single moment. It wasn't that I didn't like you or you didn't like me. If I'm better, then I get a better response from you. And I think full ownership in everything, not only, you know, in business, but personally, is huge, because you're never doing this, you're always doing this. And the more you do this, the better you are. So I think from a, you know, business and personal standpoint, I'm all about like the discipline and, you know, like
She's
I
so
love
passionate about talking about it that I want to.
No. It's just like I love like the triumphant stories and all the
Yeah.
things, but I'm like, what about this? You know,
Yeah.
like what the hell are you doing? How can you be better? Like do better.
Like, yeah, like reading books. Like,
Yeah.
this is something to make us better.
Yes. Yes.
So, and then we have the third one, which is Crucial Conversations. I started, I haven't finished it, which happens a lot. Yeah, and so it's like basically, you know, being able to talk to anyone when the stakes are high, like just having a good, like, way to communicate with maybe a negotiation, or, you know, what else? It teaches you how to learn how to create safe space for open dialogue. You know, just effective communication skills, even if you have like a corporate job or you have a, you know, or your own business. So that's for us to vote. What do we want? Yeah. We have to pick one for the next month.
Yeah.
I'm agnostic, so you pick it, I'll just read it.
Are you gonna read it?
Do you have
No.
a date set?
So it's gonna be the third Tuesday every month.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
So what would that date?
What do you all think?
That is the.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
Me
it.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, the 17th.
Yeah, June 17th.
Okay.
Okay, so Laura, you pick the book.
So either, do you have an opinion?
I'm new.
Well, we were all new. This is our first time.
This is
Yeah,
our
chime
first
in.
one. Yeah, it's our first one.
I would
Oh,
say
for
the
real?
first
Yeah.
one.
These are
I'll
first-
help the extreme ownership one, right? Because
Extreme ownership?
people lack extreme ownership. They try to
Okay.
blame everyone else. So I think that's a good
Yeah,
lesson for
let's do
everyone.
that.
And Brian, thank you for helping us film.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion on the book?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of good points that they take away, right?
Uh-huh.
That I think everyone hit overall. First of all, if you try to strive for perfection in your plan, you'll never get there and you'll never make it happen. So whenever Phil started it, he didn't have a real plan. He just kind of like, I like this, let me try to do it, and kind of push it together. So he just didn't sit on his ass and try to find the perfect thing. I think a lot of us, sometimes we don't, you know, we don't execute because we're trying to make it perfect before we execute. And by that time, it's already been tasked, right?
Right.
And then everyone talks about, you know, I think allowing people to, you know, the employees to be anonymous and work on their own. But I think most importantly, it's finding the right people, because without the right people, you can't really do that. You gotta check on them. So always like hire fast, fire faster, because you gotta get rid of the garbage, because they're gonna drag you down and they're gonna, you know, make you work harder than what you need to. And then also, you know, there's a lot of success, but really you can't succeed by yourself. You need that support channel, right? Like, and the grind with it. Like Phil and his employees sucked in the building together, right? They grinded it out. They didn't have the prettiest thing, but if you know, don't have the people to be with you with that grind, it's a very lonely place and it sucks. Yeah, but whenever you have people sucking in the grind, right? Like in the military, going through the mud together, sleeping outside on rocks, on the Humvee, it bonds you. It creates something. It creates synergy so you can achieve your overall goal and become successful, hopefully.
Yes.
That's great.
Well,
So, yeah.
thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Well,
Brian, I
thank
want
you
to chime
guys.
in. I want to chime in on something you said. So I give like an example. So one of my examples is how I got to the perspective now, because I get people, it don't work out.
Yeah.
Then you try to intern, that don't work out. So it's like you got the idea, you got the business plan, you got the blueprint, even like all the job descriptions. So you think you're getting the right person. So now you wasted 90 days. So it's like, okay, do I go get a staffing company where I'm paying them and you still bringing me the wrong people? So it's like a hit and miss. But the bigger thing is, okay, let me just do the VA. They want top dollar. Now VAs is not $2, $3, it's like $30, $40. So why would I send it there where I can get somebody local? Because I would want an in-house person. Like my ideal executive is, you ever seen Suits? Anybody ever seen Suits?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Donna. Like, so if anybody know a Donna,
Yeah.
that's what I want. That's the only thing I need.
Yeah.
In my operation is a Donna, and I'm off to the races.
Yeah.
Okay. Adana.
I need to watch it.
That's great. Yeah, Susan's great. Like, Suits LA now and the old Suits.
Is
are
Suits
right there.
LA
Oh,
good?
yeah.
I-
Yeah, they canceled it though. Don't waste your time. If you ain't watched Suits LA, don't waste your time. Don't.
Okay.
Yeah, we just saw the last episode. I think on Monday. It was.
Okay.
It was
That should have been the first episode, but doesn't
yeah,
matter.
yeah, just knowing how like it all happened, but yeah.
But I think as business
And
owners,
I'll
what
only
we're
watch,
not
like,
being
business
told
shows. I
is
can't
how much
watch
time we
anything other
spend
than-
constantly recruiting
Like-
for new
like
employees and team
crime.
members.
Like
It's,
FBI.
no one
Yeah,
tells
yeah,
you
yeah.
that, but you're
Okay,
constantly
yeah. It has
hunting
to
for
be
new
like,
people.
I have to learn something.
Constantly.
I can't watch
And
it.
training people.
And training people, I
Just
didn't know that
to
so much of my
watch
business was
American
gonna be
Vandal.
training
Yeah.
Which one?
people,
American
and
Vandal.
then
I'm a big
they,
fan.
they sort of
Oh,
like,
yeah,
up
yeah,
and
yeah.
they just kinda go adrift, or they say, well, I
On
got a
Netflix.
full-time
That was,
job
like,
doing
number one on
something else,
Netflix.
and
Yes.
more my field and my passion, it's like,
how I figured out
just
that
spent
new book.
3 months.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, there's
To
like
find-
a
like the
multitask,
field
like it
team
takes longer
to
to
do
get
it.
back. Like, okay,
He's
I'm
the
doing
one
my
that
social
wrote this
media,
book.
I'll use
Yeah,
social
so
media,
up
I'll
to
set it up
Yeah, yeah,
myself,
yeah.
Right.
It's
where I can
gonna be
oversee
good.
it.
And
If I
just
bring
like
on
the
a social
precision
media
of
person,
putting together
I'm
the right
paying you.
people, like that's
That's what you
the
say you
biggest
do.
thing.
Right.
So now I'm
And you
not
talked
thinking
about
about
it.
that no
Like
more,
you said.
because I'm thinking I got the expert.
Everything
Right.
falls
So
in
now
place
I go
on that.
here
This
to
is
keep
like
moving forward,
the
Right.
reason
and then
why
you,
you're not where you are.
now I gotta
It's the
stop
lack of
everything.
I don't think
We're
there's,
missing
I don't think
out.
there's a
We
way to
all,
avoid
you know,
it.
it's literally
I just,
that,
it's
you
just,
know?
I think it's
Yeah.
just part of what we take on as a business owner,
That's
but
what
no one
business
tells
is
you
so-
this when you start a
It's not
business.
business.
So that's why I'm like now I'm more lean.
Nobody tells you nothing when you start a business.
That's
That's why we have to
Yeah.
read these
Yeah.
books to
Yeah.
learn.
100%.
Yeah.
But like my
I don't
parents,
know.
they owned a bagel
No,
shop in
I know
Baltimore
what you
and
mean.
Fells
I know
Point.
what you mean.
Okay.
And my mother was she's like a Martha Stewart type caterer type.
Right.
But you know, if the bagel guy, if the bagel chef cook doesn't show up at the bagel shop at 4:30 in the morning, then my mom has to get up and make the bagels.
Right.
You know, and it's like she hired the bagel chef to do that. So it just is constant.
But then you gotta always have your people know that you don't need them. It's like it's a partnership, because if they think you need them, they're gonna start treating your business different. When it's your business, it's your baby. So I know everything about my business A to Z.
Right.
So if you come along, we can have a partnership.
I don't like the word
License.
partnership. Then that implies revenue share, and they do not get to share
Nah,
in
I'm
revenue.
saying partner, not a revenue share.
Oh.
I'm saying if they feel like they got a part of your vision, because stuff
That's
moving so
okay. That's
fast.
different. That's
Yeah, it's
that's,
moving
that's
so
different.
fast.
Yeah,
They're not
but
gonna
That's
in
stay.
the book,
different.
if you think about it, like he was willing to share in the business because of the partner, you know, because he had the right team, right? So it wasn't like him being the star of the show, like how you said, I want a Donna. Well, if you offer Donna equity, you'll find a Donna, but you're not gonna find a Donna as a VA. You know, that's just, I sell businesses. So
But that's the thing.
I deal.
Everybody don't want equity. It's like, okay, well, I got this vision. Let's just say, well, IBM is not around. Let's just use Apple.
Sure.
When that came, and like Microsoft, nobody believed in Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. Like they kicked him out once he got the motion going.
Yeah, then it's a thing. But I'll give you an example. Walt Disney, right? Walt Disney had this vision, and he was going around to banks in Orlando like, hey, finance me. I want to put together this like place where people can come and bring their families and do all the things. And until he met one of the biggest hoteliers of the world, who said, hey, let's be partners. You buy the land and build the space for people to come here and be able to have a place to, you know, put their bags and sleep. And not, you know, that's like the best partnership. So the reason why Orlando is the #1 travel destination is not just because of Walt Disney. It's because of all the other people that made sure that Walt Disney had all the resources that they need. So, you know, if you want someone like Donna hustling and fighting in your business, you know, there's some owner, there's something like Francesca just said. I feel empowered in this place. If God forbid something happened to Dr. Gallas and he got hit by a bus, you know, you got next to kin. Like she already knows, you know. So
And
that's,
he already planned for that.
Yeah.
you know, but
With his
that's
wife
the
and
thing.
you,
It's like
uh-huh.
if I'm gonna go and fight the good fight with you and be in the cold room with the broken windows and
Right.
just eat the mud, I want to participate in the upside at the end.
But then you gotta remember, it depends where you are. Because like a Donna could be like a kid right now in 12th grade. They don't know. It's like, okay, you come and you pay $1,000 a week. They happy with that. But in reality, they should be worth $250,000. But they don't know what they worth. They just like doing what they doing.
Right.
So now it's like leverage.
Yeah.
Like now I'm making $2 million. I'm making you $200,000.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now you can come with the partnership because it was like when you came in, I just want to do this, and I'm really good at this. and now everything building.
These
So that's
kids
what
are
people-
smart now though. Like my son. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think this is a really interesting conversation, and I graduated college last year, so I think that this is kind of interesting where a lot of people are hired and they realize that either they don't have experience or they do, but a lot of the time I think that people need to realize when they're hiring that you can't really teach soft skills, and I think that like being quick on your feet, leadership, good communication skills, like obviously you can somewhat see that through an interview process, but I think that at the end of the day, if a person has like passion and is somewhat has common sense and, you know, may not have the most experience but is willing to learn, like that ability to learn and take criticism is like a skill that you can't really force someone into. So I feel like focusing on that is like more important than the experience, because that's the kind of person that you can grow their experience and you can stick with them for a long time.
Well, you have a lot
Exactly.
of companies want, you know, people that are, you know, fresh grads, right? They don't want to reinvent the wheel because, like, let's say you're here and then you go work somewhere else in hospitality and then somewhere else. Now you have 3 people's methods going into company number 4, and they have to unprogram you from every business that you've been at. So there is a like specialty part of that, taking someone where they're, like you said, I grew up in this company. Like that's how you were able to build it, right? Because you two locked in on the vision. You didn't come from someone else's vision or somebody else's vision and you had to reinvent and so I think it goes both ways, right? Like me having done what I've done for an extended period of time, I can see when new brokers come in and I'm like, no, don't do that. Or no, you can't, you know. Sometimes experience is important, right? Because you're dealing with somebody's legacy, right? But, you know, so I think it really all depends. But, you know, you're right. There's plenty of companies that want fresh minds so they can, put in the culture.
But like with some characteristics that can't be taught, initiative, and just determination and, being a self-learner and
You have
things
to
like
know
that.
your core values and
Yeah.
the employee has to be aligned with them.
Yeah, it's like you almost want to do a field day interview, and then you could see people's real,
Common
real,
sense is the most
personalities.
important for me. Like if you don't have common sense,
Yeah,
you
with
can't.
like challenges and like all these things to see how people,
That's
behave and react under different scenarios, and it's because these are things that can't be taught.
Common sense is not common.
No.
Yeah.
And that's
true.
Yes.
Tell me
That's
about
true.
It's very true.
Well, guys, we can have a drink, eat, keep networking.
Nice
Thank
job,
you
ladies.
so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job, girls.
Yes, Nicole.
So this is our first
Yeah.
event.
Yeah.
And any like feedback that we can tweak on this. I really like the with the book, but then I love how we like incorporated
Yes.
the experiences.
Yeah.
And that's how I really want. I'm trying to get our members and just to really network organically through like this. So
Like this is perfect.
okay.
Yeah.
So
The good thing about it too, it was small.
Yeah,
So
I was just gonna say,
so but we had 15 RSVPs, but they just didn't show
Can
up.
can we cap it? 'Cause, like if this becomes a 30-person, 40-person,
Yeah,
this doesn't work.
okay.
we only fit 25
Yeah, we
here.
have 25.
So
Okay,
you
so
gotta
cap
try
it
first.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you get 50 people and everybody talking like, all right, this is
Yeah.
not gonna work.
Well, we know that isn't working. Where would you know
Because
that?
You
we-
never
we-
know. You
No,
got
no,
a bunch
no,
of
no,
brainiacs
no,
that
no,
read
hold
books
on,
and it's
hold
like
on.
everybody might be on the club.
No, this is the
But
Tower
ones
Club.
that
No.
work, like in
How
a
many
big
people?
scenario, like I think having great great people in the room.
Yeah.
That's always like I
Bigger
want.
is not better.
I
You
want
wanna
to
be
be
with-
Well, what about a
I
question
want to
that?
be with. Yeah, I want.
I do too.
What about a
Yeah,
question
I
that?
don't want to be with
Kind of get a thought.
I'm not
So you gotta
What-
inform. So if it's like 50 people, 50
Hold on,
people
no,
are
are you
50
new to the
people.
Tower
But-
Club? We're experts. What we know works best at this club.
I'm just saying, ain't a lot of people running around with hardback books in this day and time.
Hey.
And people not even reading books no more. So that's why I saw this like, oh,
You want
okay.
red or
Nicole,
white?
I would love to have a different
Yeah.
seating. It's a little too difficult to position physically. So I'd love to.
Yeah,
I was watching
if you could
some